Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing down and rebuilding everything you thought you knew about productivity using marketing legend Dan Kennedy's blueprint. And let me tell you, this isn't about little life hacks. We're talking about a radical, no BS overhaul of how you even think about getting things done. All right, let's get right to it. The very first thing we have to do is bust the biggest myth out there about productivity, that it's just a time management problem. Kennedy's whole point is that for years, we've been looking in completely the wrong place. And boom, this slide shows you exactly why. When you break it down, the real roadblocks are things like not having a clear goal or not having enough skin in the game. It's almost never about the clock. See, the real problem is a lack of a clear, powerful, gotta-have-it reason to be productive. We're all busy trying to manage our calendars when we should be managing our motivation. So how do you fix that motivation problem? Well, you need what Kennedy calls specific ambition. And this quote from Harvey Firestone, it's the perfect example. It's this all-consuming, absolutely relentless focus on one single thing. Every person you meet, every minute of your day, every conversation you have, it's all seen through the lens of that one specific goal.
Now this is where it gets really interesting because you have a choice to make. You can fall into what's called the Tyson trap, surrounding yourself with a bunch of yes men who just tell you how great you are until you lose touch with reality. Or you can develop what Kennedy calls a mental baseball bat. It's this habit of ruthless, in-the-moment self-correction. The second you do something that isn't pushing you towards your goal, you mentally whack yourself right back on track.
So with that ambition locked in, the very first rule of action is to start now. I mean, right now. As the slide says, it's way better to get moving in the wrong direction than to not move at all. Why? Because you can always correct your course once you're moving. You can't steer a parked car. The real power is in just starting. And this idea just builds on the last one. See, most of us are taught to think sequentially, right? Do step A, then step B, then step C. Kennedy says forget that. The real top performers, they operate differently. They live in what he calls controlled, purposeful chaos. They are taking massive, simultaneous action on a ton of different fronts all at once without waiting for one thing to be perfect before starting the next. Think about a football game. For most of the game, a team might just be kind of going through the motions. But then you hit the final 2 minutes, and suddenly, under that intense pressure, they become unbelievably focused and effective. It just proves that urgency unlocks a whole new level of performance. So the question Kennedy asks is, why on earth don't we live in that 2-minute drill all the time? Now, to keep that urgency, you have to be absolutely ruthless about protecting your focus. And that starts with identifying the time vampires. These are the people all around you who just suck your energy and your time dry. In Kennedy's world, there is no middle ground here. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, they are either actively helping you win or they are in your way. Period. And it's not just people. You also have to know your failure environments. Kennedy famously uses his weakness for donuts as an example. He knows he's only got so much willpower in the tank each day, so instead of wasting it trying to resist the donuts, it's just a whole lot easier to not go to the donut shop in the first place. So you have to ask yourself, what's your donut shop? Find that place and just avoid it.
And believe me, the traps don't stop there. Productivity drain holes are everywhere. You might be busy all day, but you're doing the wrong work because you don't really know where your money comes from. Or maybe you're being penny wise and pound foolish, refusing to spend a little money to buy back a lot of your time. But honestly, one of the deadliest and most common habits is not having hard stop times for meetings and calls, just letting them drag on and completely destroy your schedule.
So, all of this leads us to a very clear blueprint. If you want extreme results, you need to take what Kennedy calls extreme measures. Number 1, you schedule and script your entire day. 2, you get rid of almost all unstructured discretionary time. 3, you develop an active intolerance for anything unproductive. And finally, number 4, you become completely immune to criticism for how you choose to operate. And here's what that scripted day actually looks like. Just notice the precision here. The task of writing a sales letter doesn't just end around 11 o'clock. Nope. It ends precisely at 11 a.m. because the next thing on the list starts at 11:01. Every single minute is accounted for. It's these tight, back-to-back time blocks that create that pressure and urgency we talked about earlier, and it literally forces you to focus. When you really get down to it, this whole philosophy is captured in this one quote. It's a commitment. If you're gonna work, then work. Squeeze every drop of juice out of every minute.
Every activity, every meeting, every single conversation is an opportunity that needs to be maximized. You have to constantly be scheming. How can I get more out of this moment? How can I leverage this task for a bigger win? And we're going to end on this really provocative question from Kennedy himself. It forces you to get real about your priorities. If you aren't willing to violently defend your time and your focus, which are the only raw materials you have to build your success, it really begs the question, what in your life do you actually value enough to protect?